NBA fans, welcome back to a brand new episode of 30 Teams in 30 Days. Let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, don't worry about it. I forgive you, all right? Just make sure you hit that subscribe button because I'm like 8 away from 200, and that's a pretty damn cool thing to say. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's probably just me. Anyway, if you're new to the series, let me explain it to you real quick. 30 teams in 30 days is simple. I'm going to talk about one team a day. If your team has been talked about, go check it out. I may have been already talking about it. But I'm going to talk about their draft. I'm going to explain who they got, how I think about it, then I'm going to grade it. I'm going to do the same thing with free agency. Then I'm going to talk about their roster and how it stands right now, rotation-wise. Then I'm going to say 3 last questions regarding this team, and then I'm going to give their offseason an overall grade. With that grade, I'm going to explain why I gave that grade, and then finally, I'm going to tell you where I think they will finish in the standings next year. Let's get right into it with the Detroit Pistons. Now, with the 7th pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons selected Killian Hayes, right? He is a lefty. He's a very shifty type lanky player, a guard, a pretty good passer, a good shot creator. Kevin O'Connor had him as a number 1 prospect on the entire draft board. Now, I think that says a lot, especially coming from a guy as intelligent, as, smart, with as much expertise as Kevin O'Connor does when it comes to draft. Now, I really like Killian Hayes. I think he's an awesome player. I love the pick. Now, they got Isaiah Stewart at 16, in which I hated it. I hated that pick so much. Not because of Isaiah Stewart. Well, partially because of Isaiah Stewart, because I don't think he's that good, and I don't think he's a modern-day NBA center. But at 16, you could have done a litany of things. You could have traded that pick pretty far back, get other assets in the meantime, and draft Isaiah Stewart if he's your guy, or you could have even just drafted Precious Achiuwa, who is the same position and is just a better player. Now, I'm not letting this 16th pick completely kill the grade for me because Detroit had a phenomenal draft. At 19, they selected Saddiq Bey, who I thought was a steal. At 19, I had him going 12. Now, I think Bey is the prototypical 3-and-D player in the NBA. He can guard 3 positions, and he can probably shoot 40% from 3. He's going to become a really good contributor for any team he's on for a probable 10 years. And I love Saddiq Bey. I think he's a very good pick, especially at 19. They got Saben Lee at 38, who I don't particularly know enough about to tell you guys. So I'm kind of going to let him and that pick just, leave the nest, leave the group a little bit, and I'll just talk about the other things. Draft grade, I gave him an A- because I thought it was phenomenal. I thought Killian Hayes was a great pick. I think he's going to be a great player. He has a really high ceiling, so hopefully he can, amount to that ceiling. Isaiah Stewart, I hated it, but it wasn't bad enough for me to make it anything worse than an A-. They had top 3 draft potential, but of course Isaiah Stewart. But with Saddiq Bey and Killian Hayes, those are 2 great picks. In free agency, the meme Detroit Pistons were the busiest team I have seen in a while. Their roster is completely different, completely. The only team probably more different now than they were before was the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's because they have every draft pick for the next 21 years. Free agency, they signed Jeremy Grant to a 3-year, $60 million deal. Mason Plumlee, Jahlil Okafor, Josh Jackson. They traded for DeLon Wright, Zizan Musa, who I say his name now right, Rodney McGruder, Dwayne Dedmon. Then they cut Dwayne Dedmon. They traded for Tony Bradley. Then they traded Tony Bradley for Zaire Smith, and then cut Zaire Smith. Nice. That was the first take. That wasn't bad. Clearly, they are up to something. Whatever the hell it is, they're up to something. Now, I think that they're looking at Jahlil Okafor, they're looking at Josh Jackson, and they're trying to be like, okay, maybe we can sign these guys who are pretty much busts, who are a year out of never coming back in the NBA, and maybe they can revamp their career, and we can either keep them, hold on to them on a pretty good deal, or we can flip them. I don't know if that's going to work. With Jahlil Okafor, I promise you that's not going to work. I think that guy is atrocious, but, worth a shot when you're going to lose 60 games. They lost Bruce Brown. They traded Bruce Brown. They traded Luke Kennard. They lost Langston Galloway to free agency. They lost Christian Wood to free agency. They traded Kyrie Thomas, and then they lost Thon Maker. Now, Bruce Brown's a good player. Luke Kennard is okay. He might be the worst defender ever, but he's okay. Langston Galloway, Pistons fans love Luke Kennard, so if you're a Pistons fan, don't start like getting in the comments now and shitting on me saying, oh, Luke Kennard's the man, we lost the only guy we shouldn't have kept on. All right, dude, we get it. It's Luke Kennard. He'll give you 15 points and 5 assists. That's good, right? But, I mean, it's not God. It's not LeBron James on the court. Free agency, I gave him a C. I mean, I hated their free agency, of course, but at least they didn't assign Gordon Hayward to 4 years, $120 million, right? But I think that, they had a plan. I think they're going to be bad, which is really good. And for that reason only, I'm like, all right, I kind of trust Detroit. Their roster right now is looking like Killian Hayes. If I'm Dwayne Casey, who I'm starting is Killian Hayes, DeLon Wright, Jeremy Grant, Blake Griffin, Mason Plumlee. Now, Killian Hayes, I love, and I really, really hope he starts the year out in the starting 5 so badly, because I think he's going to be a really good player. You just got to give him his time. Let the kid mess up as much as possible. Just let him do his thing. DeLon Wright, I think, is a really good starting, not really good, but I mean, is a good starting, decent starting caliber 2-guard. He's going to shoot 40% from 3, hopefully, and he could probably give you like 13, 14, 15 a game. Jeremy Grant, hopefully he has a big year, I think, for Detroit Pistons fans. Hopefully he has a big year. Blake Griffin at the 4, hopefully the guy can just stay healthy. And Mason Plumlee. Last time Mason Plumlee was a starting center in the NBA, he averaged like 4 assists a game. So I think you could probably expect Mason Plumlee to be out doing the same thing this year too. He's a good player. He really is a good player. I think he's underrated. I don't think he's worth the money he's getting, but at the same time, it's the Pistons. They have to overpay sometimes. But I like Mason Plumlee. I think he's a good player. I think he can be a good starting 5. Their bench is going to be Derrick Rose, my boy, Sekou Doumbouya, Sadiq Bey, Svai Mikhailiuk, Jahlil Okafor, Josh Jackson, Isaiah Stewart, Rodney Brewer. But their bench is not good. I mean, Derrick Rose is good. Hopefully he can have a really good year and then they trade him. Sekou Doumbouya, I hope he is just given an opportunity more than anything. I think Sadiq Bey is a good player. Svai Mikhailiuk. I just want to see Sekou Doumbouya and Svai Mikhailiuk on the court at the same time, because those are just insane names. I feel bad for the announcer. My 3 questions for Detroit right now is one, will Detroit flip assets for draft picks? Like Derrick Rose, Blake Griffin, maybe Mason Plumlee has a really good year and they trade him. Because I think Derrick Rose has pretty good trade value. I think Blake Griffin is questionable. I think I would hold on to him until the deadline to see how his year's going. But I think they have an ability to get things in return, and I think that would completely kick their rebuild in overdrive, which is exactly what you need as an organization. And I think Detroit will do it. I have faith in the Pistons for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I had my career on like the early NBA 2Ks, and I was like, I'm going to be on the Pistons. I don't know why, but I was. Question number 2. Will my man, Sekou Doumbouya, make a really progressive jump in year number 2? Personally, I want this man to be good more than anyone, more than his family, probably. I have no real connection to him. I just loved that pick at 15. I was like, I hope this dude's the man. He's got crazy raw potential. Doumbouya had a really, really bad rookie year. Like, efficiency, really bad. Per 36 was really bad. His advanced shooting metrics were really, really bad. He's not a good rebounder. He can't really pass the ball, and he averaged like 6 points a game in 19 minutes. So he's not a great player right now. However, if you let Sekou Doumbouya and Killian Hayes mess up as much as possible and continue to fail, all while they're getting better, while they're losing games, I think that's a great opportunity for everyone involved. Question number 3, is Killian Hayes going to thrive immediately if he's given the keys to the team? If he's the starting point guard on night number 1, this team is his, which is awesome, which I need. There's an example out there, which is crazy because this team does nothing right ever, but the Sacramento Kings and De'Aaron Fox. The Pistons should see what they did with De'Aaron Fox and do the exact same damn thing with Killian Hayes. Sacramento came in on night number 1 and was like, De'Aaron, look, buddy, here are the keys. Just go crazy. And De'Aaron Fox messed up a lot. He had a lot of really, really bad games, but he had a lot of really good games, and he is now a max player with 5 years, like $190 million. So, that's what you can get with Killian Hayes. I think I'm not comparing the 2 players. That's not what I'm saying, because they're nothing alike outside of being left-handed. But I think if you give Killian Hayes just the keys to the city on night number 1, I think he's going to, through trial and error, he's going to be a really good point guard for you. So I'm hoping that Killian Hayes is just given an opportunity off the get-go and he's playing 30 minutes a night. Because as an NBA rookie point guard, the one way to get better is just by growing through playing time, growing through losing, growing through bad nights and trial and error more than any other position in the league. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Killian Hayes a lot, actually. So my overall offseason is a B. Now, I know it's not as bad as you probably expected before clicking on this video, and I know it's not as bad as probably 99% of people out there think, but I think the Pistons are on the right track. I think they're going to be a bottom 4 team in the East this year, which means they're going to have a top 8 pick probably, in which I think they can possibly, just think that if they could get the number 1 pick, Cade Cunningham, and I know a lot of my videos I talk about this, but next year's draft class is freaking insane. Insane. I just watched Zaire Williams play yesterday. That man's shot is unreal. I don't think he hit the rim once. It was just bucket after bucket after bucket. And I think Detroit could be set up really, really well with a really good draft next year. They could be looking like a playoff team in 2-3 years and with a really young, successful core. And I'm excited for them for that. Obviously they overpaid Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee, Jaleel Okafor, they shouldn't have signed him at all. Isaiah Stewart was a questionable draft pick, but I really do think they had a great draft. I really do think they're going to be set up pretty perfectly for the future. And if they let Sekou Doumbouya and Killian Hayes with a long leash to let them do their thing, I think that could be such a developmentally good thing for everyone involved for the city of Detroit. Guys, you're not going to win a ton of games this year, but that's a good thing. That is such a good thing. You do not want to be in mediocrity for the rest of your life. So, that being said, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do your thing. I'm like that close to 200 followers or subscribers, whatever YouTube calls it. I don't know. Peace out. Go Sixers.